And are we on? Yeah, we are. It says recording. Okay. Thank God you put clothes on. Okay.
Just for
So
you, man. Just for you.
we're talking to just make sure I get his name correctly here. Ben RadFord.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, I mean,
I've,
I've
I've,
heard that before. I've
I've
been called
barely
worse.
barely heard of him. Barely heard of him. He is a freelance science writer at Discovery News.
Former.
Former. Are you a former? They fired
Well,
you?
I don't know. Well, that's actually a good question. I don't know how old that bio is. Every now and then, I should probably update the bio on my website. I think it's probably like 10 years out of date because I'll every now and then someone will say Ben is author of 8 books. I'm like, it's actually 12 or 13 now. So anyway, I was I'm no longer working for Discovery, but I did for many years.
Did they give you the boot or something? Or you just
That's a fair question. No, honestly, I just got too busy. I was in grad school, and I had my full time work, and I enjoy doing it, but it just got to be too much. So I didn't get the boot. Probably, if I really wanted to, I could go back and do it. But I had really, my interest was always in sort of bringing skeptical content to stories, and it just got repetitive because I did it for, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 years or something. So I would someone would say, "Hey, can you write about spontaneous human combustion?" I'm like, "Well, I could, but I did that for you guys 2 years ago." So it got to be where I was sort of repeating myself. So that was part of it.
you sound like John Cleese when they asked him why'd he quit Monty Python. He was like, "Yeah, it was just repetitive." I would have held on to that like grim death. I would have been like, "What?" I would have easily grabbed the if they asked me about the spontaneous combustion thing, I'd be like, "Oh, really? Hmm.
I've never heard of that. Then
Let
they're
me
like, really?
like, can you give me like about a week, and then just hand in the old paper?" I mean,
Yeah. I could probably pull that off. The problem is that I had pretty good editors who had seen my stuff before. So they're like, Ben, I like this new piece, but you've changed 3 words and you're expecting to get your $300 fee. So you're gonna have to put
you
in more
sound
effort.
you sound like my teacher. Okay, so they would always bring me in the office and have these discussions, just
Hmm.
going like, "Why did you hit him? Why do you got to wear a dress? Why do you always use those slurs?" All right.
All these why questions.
And it never ended. It never ended. So, and he also, yeah, you've got tons of books. See, Ben came on like gangbusters. All of a sudden, I was looking at adult content, and
As one does.
all of a sudden, all I hear is, "Hey, man," and he's just 90 miles an hour and just scared the crap out of me because the worst thing is somebody catches you looking at dirty pictures.
Right, that happened to that Tubin guy a couple months back. There was some highfalutin.
Oh God, that was
Remember that story? The poor guy was,
poor guy. Are you kidding me? Ben? Are you kidding me? In the
I'm
middle,
just saying. I
don't
don't
don't.
look. You should be cognizant of. Look, I'm on camera all the time, and I, I feel bad for him, not
I
because he.
don't.
Well, no, I don't think he should necessarily lose his job for that. I
I
mean,
do.
wait,
No, screw it. I
no.
mean, if that was anybody else, and we all know how it goes, if it was anybody else, they'd be fired and gone.
And he was fired and gone. That's my whole point.
Is he gone?
Yeah, dude, he was canned like a week later.
Oh, I
And again,
heard. I heard. I heard that he was given like he was suspended. And
no. He was again. I think it was Jeffrey Tubin. It happened 2, 3 months ago, and I guess at the end of some meeting, his camera was still on, and he had his
yeah,
dick out. I did. I recognize his name. I've read some of his pieces over the years. I'm not a big fan of his one way or the other, but it just occurred to me that and it apparently was totally unintentional. He wasn't trying to show his dick to some 14-year-old kid in. So anyway, I just thought, I mean, like, whatever. I don't really care if he has his job or not. It seemed a little excessive just for a mistake, but whatever.
I don't. I I never, the guy, I thought he was just I don't want to go completely off topic, but I thought he was a shill he was
Mhm.
one of these yes men. He would, whatever, like CNN would say, hey, say this. And he would,
He parroted back and forth.
yeah, he would, whatever they wanted to say. And to me, if we're going to have a discussion, I don't mind us disagreeing. But if we're agreeing on everything, then what are we talking about?
I agree with you. I would just say that whether he's a yes man or not shouldn't really determine whether or not he should get canned
Well,
for
you
that.
should if you masturbate and in the middle of a meeting, you say goodbye, you keep your camera on, and you start. I mean,
Well,
I'm
yeah, fair enough.
I mean, give me a break. We're getting to the point in society where it's like we should forgive, and it's like yes, we should forgive for some things, but not that. You
And
know,
so, Vita, I just have to say, in all honesty, we've been talking here for what, like 5 minutes now. I haven't seen both your hands. Okay, all right. I'm just checking.
they're all hairy. So the palms are hairy.
Right, of course.
So yeah, just like Sasquatch. All right, so let's get off of that. Let's get off. Goes. I'm gonna be interviewing Lisa Sparks tomorrow, and she's notorious. She's the one that slept with 919 guys in one sitting. So
Wow.
folks, tune in for that show. And I guarantee you, she's not going to be diddling herself during that. So I'm sorry about that.
She probably doesn't want to touch herself for years after that, I would
And it's
guess.
the hypocrisy that drives me nuts. These people are all like, "You're disgusting. You're a pig. You're this. You're that." Meanwhile, they're the ones when the cameras are off, putting on the woman's dress and dancing to, you know what I mean, with a naked monkey or something weird.
Right.
So, no one's perfect, but enough with this hypocrisy crap. Okay,
I'm with you on that.
okay. So, I'm a big fan of Ben's. I've talked to him many times over the years. Ben has written several books about cryptozoology. And he also was on a show that I would listen to a long time ago, Monster Talk. He doesn't do that anymore, but
Nope.
he you have your own podcast now, right?
I do. Yeah, I have a podcast. We're now, I think, in our third year, and it's titled Squaring the Strange.
Mhm.
And it's available wherever podcasts are found, iTunes, and so on. And I have two co-hosts, Celestia Ward, who is an artist and caricaturist in Las Vegas, and Pascual Romero, who lives out here in New Mexico, actually a couple miles from me.
I've heard
And
of him.
he's a musician and guitarist, and we get together and talk about strange, skeptical things every 2 weeks.
That's great. Thanks for having me on. That means a lot. So here's the I've been talking to a young man. We've been trying to do a little show because I've always enjoyed, me, I'm all over the place. I cannot stay on one subject. I like to know pop culture,
Right. You're
anything.
very well rounded, and I'm not being facetious. You are.
Yeah, but it doesn't really help out because people are like, what the hell? He's talking to a porn star, and one day he's talking about Bigfoot. So, uh, uh, and in a way, they're kind of the same.
Well,
So
you can, if at some point, if you want, we can talk about the intersection between Bigfoot and porn. There's also ghost porn.
Ben,
There's people that claim they've been had sex. Kesha, the musician, has claimed to have had sex with ghosts. So we can go into whatever we want.
no, I no, that's what the young guy that I say young
Okay.
man. He told me the same thing about there is this erotica about Bigfoot about see many moons ago. I remember being at the checkout and seeing there was a magazine called. This is when there used to be a thing called magazines, and
Okay.
people would pick them up, and it was a garbage magazine, but it had these crazy headlines, and one of them was uh, Bigfoot got me pregnant. Remember that? So,
I do. Yeah.
and for $3 or whatever, people would buy it. I would never buy it because I just not, it's like ridiculous.
That didn't
So
float your boat. The Bigfoot got me pregnant.
yeah, but the other Ben Bile, his name is. We try and do a show every Monday. We're going to be talking about Ogopogo this Monday.
Love it. I've done lots on Ogopogo.
All right, okay, okay. Yours is better. Your show's better. I get it.
I'm
Okay,
just saying.
you know, I'm in a tent. Okay, I'm out looking, Ben. I'm looking for this stuff. Jeez,
I respect
rub
that.
it in my face. So he talked about the erotica of people, you know, having sex with pretend, you know, thinking they're having sex with ghosts, uh, uh, Bigfoot, and I'm like, think about it. Okay, first of all, who would want to have? Okay, let's say there is a Bigfoot. Let's say there is a Bigfoot.
Okay. In Canada, it'd be Sasquatch, of course.
Oh, that's Sasquatch. In Russia, Yeti. In Czechoslovakia, it'd be like, holy shit, you know. So
it's like, oh, that's my cousin's.
oh, look,
sister.
it's Aunt Becky. So who would want a 9-foot? Could you imagine a 9-foot? Just think about the legit. Just think about that, right?
Yeah.
Just think about that, and then thinking about, like, think about that.
Yeah.
All right, now get
I
that
see
out
where
of
you're going with that.
get
Yeah.
that out of your head, and then you tell me how. Hey, we all. I guess you know what the turn on would be if it wasn't you.
It's right. In that sort of sadistic way, like, you know, I don't want to do that, but I'm turned on by watching somebody else do that.
That's true. People are very. I mean, I've talked to people that do stuff online. You know, they you know, I guess you pay for them and you watch what they do. You know, a housewife.
Talking like juggling or doing doodles or
no, like
crafts.
having with you know, having sex with objects and stuff, right? So
oh, see, I was thinking you were talking about like home crafts and like little porcelain things.
no, I love that. I enjoy. Last night I watched a guy. It's the worst. YouTube's the worst. You end up watching hours and hours of watching a guy working with epoxy, building, you know, some cool ship, and you're going, man, I really suck. You know, just the guy was just talented. So
these things they just bring out your inadequacies, don't they?
yeah, they do. They really do. And then you're like, I should go out and buy some epoxy. Then you realize, even if I buy epoxy, I don't have the type of skill this guy has to make these incredible, you know.
Right.
Anyway, so
the most you could do is sniff it. I mean, and
yeah,
you may not be able to do that.
Yeah, you could dream about it and going, wow, I built something really cool, until you come out of that fog, and then you realize it was just a dream. So, exactly. And I am a dreamer. So, yeah, so she's making a fortune off of people watching her, you know, do stuff to herself and fantasies and stuff. And that's where we're at this, you know, where here's the difference, where you would go out, and there's no similarity. I'm just saying people are stuck inside. You would go
for this parallel.
You would go out and look for evidence of whatever. If they said there's a Tassie tiger, you would say, where? Let's go check out the area, see if there's any evidence of it, you know. But since we're all, you know, in the state we're in right now, and hopefully we get out of this
well, you're in a tent.
Well, I'm in a tent, so
but yeah.
I'm in a tent, and
I assume it's in your living room. I can't really tell from the background, but I'm guessing.
No, this is a tent, man. I'm right where.
Oh, okay.
I could smell Bigfoot's wiener.
Oh well, and that's and that reminds me, what movie was it that was it Anchorman? Where there's someone, I think it was a cologne, and there's smell like this, and the one that smells like Bigfoot's dick.
I was gonna say that, but then
sorry.
It's all right, Ben. Took my joke. That's fine. All right, so I'm an unemployed comedian, and Ben just took the best bit out of the whole show. I was saving that for the ending with the with the 1-2 punch, but
I'll be the straight man. So what is this?
For once in your life, Ben, be straight. Look at my face. Jesus. God, it's falling off. Look at this.
You do
Here's
have one of those rubbery faces, but that's good for comedy, as you know.
No, it's not. It's called you're old and you're not getting any more gigs. So when you here's the thing, when I talk to the other Ben, I'll call him Bile, you've gone after, like, I love a good mystery. We all love a good mystery, and I think that's important in life. Uh, that there is this um, mystery out there, right? Now, are you enemy? I've always considered you like you just want the facts,
Yeah.
right? You just want the facts. You're not into, if I say, and I agree with you, where you go, uh, if I sit there and go, hey, Ben, last night there, there was a Bigfoot outside my door, you would just be very scientific, detective, be a police officer about it and just say, okay, do you have any video of it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and if you have video of it, is it usable? Is it grainy? Is it,
Sure.
so I've always considered you you're not enemy number one. I mean, when I put out, uh, there's tons of cryptozoology, fan sites out there, and I said I'm interviewing Ben Radford. They all know who you are, but nobody had anything they wanted to say, and
Hmm.
it was just to me, it was just like maybe they thought I was joking,
It could be. Well,
maybe.
you are a comedian. You are known for being funny.
Yeah, but it was just like maybe some. I guess some would be worried, going, "Well, he's the enemy," and I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think it's like, hey, man, he's just trying to. Yes, there's unexplainable things out there, and there will always be unexplainable things out there. But your job, I've always considered as a Lieutenant Columbo, where I want the facts, and if we could prove it, great.
Yeah.
If not, then I'm sorry. Uh, we got bupkis.
Right. Yeah, I know. You're exactly right. I mean, I'm reminded of one time I spoke at a Bigfoot conference in Pocatello, Idaho, about, I don't know, 10, 12 years or so ago. And I was the token skeptic because, of course, I was. Everybody else, it was this big, convention hall of maybe 200 people, mostly chubby white guys. And some of them were shilling their DVDs and their Bigfoot cast and whatever else. And there were a handful of other Bigfoot researchers. I think Jeff Meldrum was there and others. And I was the token skeptic, and I got up on stage and I was giving my presentation, and I was telling the audience, I said, look, I'm not the enemy here.
Yeah, I
I
remember
said,
that.
I said, I've told the story before, but I mean, I'm here to give you my informed, critical thinking, evidence based perspective on Bigfoot, and to tell you why I don't find the evidence that you guys are crowing about, some of it going back to 1967, the Patterson Gimlin film, to be that compelling. But I said, I'm not the enemy here. I'm not laughing at you guys. I'm not mocking you. If you go down the street and you just tell the average person, well, I'm a Bigfoot researcher, they're going to laugh at you. It's like, I'm not laughing at. I will take you seriously. I will listen to your story. I will look at your evidence. I'll look at your photos, videos, tracks, whatever it is. So, I said, I was trying to explain to these people, we're on the same page here. So I'm not, my goal is to try and get you guys to do better quality research so you have better evidence, so you don't sit there and bitch about how the scientific community isn't paying attention to us. Well, it's because you're giving them shit evidence. If you want people to take you seriously, give them good evidence, and I'm trying to make you up your game to do that.
Yes, of course. And that's what I would want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would, that would be very important to me. Um, yeah, of course. That's what you'd want. You don't want, I think the worst thing in the world is a bunch of yes men,
Hmm.
right? Because you're just in this echo chamber. It's like those flat earth people. You ever see those flat earth? And I hate to say, and
Yeah.
please, if you do believe in, I'm
Hmm.
not making fun of you at all. I'm just saying that if you ever see those uh, flat earther people, they are in this echo chamber where
Hmm.
you could show them science, you could show them this is how we know the earth is round, and they will say they just no, no,
Yeah.
they don't, and it's just
And and part of the problem is that is, and you touched on this a second ago, is that in a lot of these communities, whether you're talking about Bigfoot, you're talking about ghosts, where you're talking about crop circles, where you're talking about conspiracy theories, and things like that, is that there, as you said, there's this echo chamber, and there's this immediate rejection of critics. So there's not a lot of in good science. Good science is self-criticizing. That is, some researcher does a study or does an experiment, whatever else, and they publish it, and other researchers criticize it. They don't say it's necessarily say it's garbage. They say, well, I looked at the study, did you look at this? Maybe there's different explanations, whatever else. And so so good science is self-correcting, not immediately, but over the course of time, as more and more people look at each other's research and studies and whatever else, then gradually you say, oh yeah, you were right, I made a mistake here, let's figure this out. But in these fields, Bigfoot and ghosts and flat earthers, they reject, and they don't self-criticize. They don't criticize each other, and they don't really accept criticism from other people. And so it's no wonder that they're sort of in this, this headlong into this echo chamber, and their evidence isn't getting any better because they refuse to consider other points of view that criticize their evidence.
and that's the problem, Ben. I'd want to hear what you have to say just to give it a good rebuttal, or
You would think.
to say, okay, this is what this person says. Let's go after it and see if he's correct or not. But
Hmm.
if we've got nothing, if I'm surrounded by yes men, I could
Hmm.
just sit there and go, yeah, Ben's just bullshit.
Yeah.
He's just trying to sell books. You know,
Yeah.
it's just, and it's like, no, you're missing the point. Okay. Okay. Something weird can be out there, something different.
Sure.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but okay. Is it 100%? There's nothing well, yeah, there are a few things that are 100%,
Well, in
but
science, I mean, nothing is 100%. I mean, in science, everything that we know about the world, whether it's physics or biology or whatever else, it's based on the weight of evidence so far.
yeah, it's a
And
theory. Like
yeah,
but it's a theory that
it's a
works.
scientific theory. Yeah. And
Yes.
so, so whether it's vaccines or whatever else, I mean, yeah, sure, there could be a study that comes out next month, next year, 10 years from now, that overturns everything we know in science. But as each year progresses and as more studies confirm the basic premises, it becomes more and more unlikely.
Right.
So, so yeah, it's just, and it's just frustrating because a lot of they're well-meaning people, and this we talked about this, like they're not evil people, they're not stupid, most of them. They're sincerely, they haven't done the research, they haven't looked at the skeptical side of things, and they don't want to hear it because they're in this echo chamber online, of all these yes men, like you said, that are just sort of reinforcing each other's beliefs, and nobody's bothering to question assumptions or do any good scientific research.
And it's just, to me, it's just like I've lost friends, you know, and it's just to me,
Hmm.
it bugs me because I'm like, hey man, I'm not saying I don't believe in ghosts. It's just some things, and I try and explain some weird things have happened, but for the
Sure.
most part, I remember the last time I did an interview with you where they invited me. They thought I was, when I did the ghost show.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
you remember it was a comedy
Yeah.
ghost show,
Yeah.
and all it was really making fun of not the ghosts. I would never make fun of the dead. I
Hmm.
made fun of the guys hunting the ghosts, just how ridiculous they are, and 90% of them enjoyed it. Thought, yes, we are kind of, when we go out there, half the time we argue about setting up equipment instead of, and the whole point of it was, if you are a ghost, you're laughing your brains out at
Right.
these at the living, just going, God, you guys are dumb. That was
And
all.
that's right up your alley, right? That's what good humor does. That's what good comics do, is they reveal underlying truth through humor, so that it
Yeah,
does.
and
Yeah.
so these guys brought me out, and one of them, out of the 10 people that were in this group, they were all, my they were like, really, they thought, oh, he's going to come out. And they invited me to go look at this girl, this young woman who had a small child who was convinced that her old house was had a ghost in it
Hmm.
and was terrified, this poor girl. And I traveled hours to get up there and spent the night working on trying to figure out if there's, a ghost or whatever. And
Sure.
I found there was no evidence of it, Ben. There was no evidence. And the leader, I'm not going to say who the leader was, but anyways, he because I called up the girl after, because she was scared,
Hmm.
and I called her up and I told her that you don't have ghosts. What I've seen, okay, you don't have it, and you need to calm down. And if the place scares you enough, you need to find a place to move to. And they
Right.
can't find a place; it's hard, and I understand that. But I just told her, listen, we did all these tests, nothing showed up. I did a where they say you see an orb,
Hmm.
you know, and she said, look, in the video it shows orbs, and I go, we're in your basement. It is so dusty down here. Those orbs are dust. I'm sorry, it's not a spirit. It's
Yeah.
not. I don't. I was alone in this basement by myself for 3 hours in the dark,
Hmm.
and nothing,
Yeah.
you know. And I just said, listen, maybe it didn't come out when I was there, but I, I said some pretty vile things to get some reactions.
Hmm.
Uh,
Little
and
provocations. Yeah.
yeah, just to get them go. Just if there's something there,
Hmm.
please, show me. Stop being a wimp. Stop picking on a girl and her child. If you want to, if you're so tough, come at me.
And to be fair, you're uniquely qualified for this. I mean, I can go into a place and insult ghosts, but you, my friend,
Oh yeah, you
that
should have seen. They were laughing upstairs. They could hear me. I
would
mean,
be a great bit. Have you done a
the
bit on that?
the three guys, they told me to stop because they were laughing so hard because of the things that I was saying.
Right.
Uh,
Well, but there are things that would presumably insult a ghost.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what I told them when I came upstairs. I said, guys, I'm not doing a show for you. I'm doing a show. She's scared. I want to
Hmm.
piss off whatever's here, and that because the worst thing is we don't get anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it comes back, and she's terrified, and
Right.
she called me a week later saying, no, nothing's happened. You're right. It's an old place. It it,
Good.
it,
I'm
it
glad.
makes it makes noises, and I said, if there's ever a problem, okay, you call me. I will be up there in. It takes 6 hours to get up there. I go, I'll be there in
Where
5.
was this place?
Oh God, Ben, this was years ago.
Like Northern Ontario or something?
Yeah,
Or
it was like she was in a small town about 5 hours away from me.
okay.
Uh, Further away, you don't know where Toronto is, but like, honestly, it was out there. Got it. I'll try and find the place, but um,
Well, let me
any
just say, I got nothing but respect for that, and because I mean, I try to do some of that myself, and I really like the point that you make up, which is that oftentimes these people are genuinely frightened, right? I mean, so we can sit here and laugh and joke about it, but you and I have both been with people who are scared shitless because
yeah,
they truly believe that there's some evil entity in their basement or upstairs, wherever else. And why do they believe that? Because they got it in their heads from watching some bullshit TV show or some local ghost hunter group full of half-assed guys, doing some weekend thing. Like, oh, we're the local ghost hunters. Look at our thing, blah, blah. And they and like, oh my god, and they don't realize the damage they're doing.
yeah,
And it's up to people like you and me and other skeptics who are trying to bring some science to it to go in there and basically clean up the mess, the emotional mess left by these people who are just you know, they see ghosts behind every door. Everything is demonic spirit, and they don't recognize that if people really think this, and many of them do, they're going to be justifiably scared. And so it's just frustrating. And I'm really glad that you did that, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's not funny. It would be like you going to, if I was your doctor and I say, Ben, I think you have cancer. Come
Yeah,
see me in about 6 months. And you're like, what? And I go, yeah, Ben, I'm busy, but I think you got cancer. Come see me in 6 months, okay? You're
yeah,
terrified. You're scared. You
yeah.
you know, you're like, hey man, you're my doctor, you know. So if you're a ghost hunter or a ghost debunker, or you're out to help someone, tell them the truth. If
Hmm.
if if you do not know what's going on, you don't know what's going on, and you need more, you love these ghost shows that go, yeah, we need more information. In other words, we need another episode of us
Right.
doing nothing for another 45 minutes.
Or
So
screaming at empty rooms, or being terrified of darkness, or
yeah, so to me, so yeah, and the guy, the leader of the guy, we got into a verbal argument over the phone. My wife heard us because I
hmm,
said, I'm coming down there to rip your throat out. Never mind, you're going to be a ghost in about half hour. Because he was pissed off that I told her that her place is not haunted.
hmm,
And I'm like, listen, pal, you're feeding off of, you're just trying, you're trying to scare her.
hmm,
Okay. Now, if there was a ghost and I didn't know what was going on, I would tell her.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. But if there is nothing there and I don't see any evidence, and she even told me about a week later, nothing has happened. Cause I told her, I go, you know, what happens is when you're scared, Ben, every little thing,
hmm,
every little thing, you do this,
yeah.
or and
Because you're psychologically primed to think that anything weird or anything bad happens
that
is due to a ghost.
that's what I told her. I said, you gotta stop thinking that. I go, you're in a house that's over 100 years old. Okay. It's gonna make these noises. Okay. And she's like, okay. I go, these are normal. It was her first time moving by herself. She must have been about 21 or 22 years old. She was a young girl. And she
Hmm.
watched these ghost shows. And
Hmm.
I told her, stop watching those ghost shows. Okay. It's like, Ben, I cannot watch a ghost show by myself in the middle of the night because I'm not into it. I want to, I just need to,
Right.
right? It's just not, I mean, a horror movie. I don't like horror movies. Okay. I could watch a ghost show and, laugh my brains out,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
Because you recognize what's going on. It's not
Well, I know
right.
exactly what they're doing. I
Right.
had the woman at, remember, the channel Space.
Vaguely.
Okay, well, they when I pitched the show and I sent it to them, they actually got back to me and called me and said, "You got a funny show, but the problem is you're going to insult our audience." And
Hmm.
I said, "Yeah, uh, but that's the people that laugh at it are ghost hunters, like the guys that are saying, 'Hey, man, you're doing an awesome job. That is funny.' Are ghost hunters." And I said, that's, the fan base. And she said, well, we want to make sure, I screwed up. I should have made, uh, like I should have made, see, I know how stuff works. I know
Right.
how, I do magic or whatever. So I could make a chair move. I could make a claw, a door open. I got
Sure.
pretty good actors. I could, what I would do is I would not tell people, what I would put in certain things, like, just to scare them to get a real reaction.
Right. Right. Right.
And then again, some real when I think I pushed a little too much at a theater I was doing. I got a really bad reaction from people, and I wasn't screwing around.
Hmm.
Um, and it was one of those things where, again, yes, I was scared, and so was everybody else. But to me, that's important. Let's find out. Like, I was trying to film the show, but we didn't have time to, hey, let's do a real investigation.
Right.
This is I was doing a comedy show. So something weird happened a couple of times out of the 10 episodes we did. And God, anytime you go anywhere, Ben, weird things are going to happen no matter where you are.
Right.
Okay. So we could be talking and my light could explode right now. Do I sit there and say a ghost did it? Or do I sit there and say, that's just the way things are, guys?
Right.
So
Or
the,
suddenly your mic could go out, or any number of things, and people wouldn't even pay attention to it
right.
unless you're talking about ghosts, and all of a sudden, well, it's a sign.
Well, that's why, there's a lot of people out there that are worried that their channels, when they said there's going to be a purge about conspiracy theories, uh, like stuff like, you remember, anything to do with a conspiracy theory. See, they're worried that too many people are going to believe it. Like, if I've seen, I watched a video where a guy talked, he talked about buying a demonic box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first of all, why would you even do that? But he's doing that to get clicks, right?
Right.
I could easily sit there.
Right.
My title of this is going to be, Ben shows his penis, and I guarantee you I'll get 5 more hits than I usually do.
Well,
But
that's such a. Or if you put Ben shows his tiny penis, then people are like,
oh,
oh, how tiny is it?
but you know what I mean? It's clickbait.
Yeah.
So people will go out and buy these demon boxes and opening them up. They'll open them up, and then weird stuff will happen behind them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, it's so easy to do, guys. It's I got magic wire. I've got all,
Right.
these are,
This
these
is
are,
not.
this is not,
Yeah.
but I understand that it is an escape, and that's why people enjoy uh cryptozoology.
Sure.
It is an escape, but you've got to, this notion of what was that guy Moneymaker off of that
Right. Matt
horror
Moneymaker.
horribly titled Finding Bigfoot, show.
Yeah.
What a horrible title, I
Not
thought
finding Bigfoot.
I found a pot of gold. That's what I'll name the show, and we never find
Right.
gold.
Right.
So
Next episode, you're about to so each episode ends with a big pot and you peering down into it,
yeah,
and then
and then it cuts to the next
yeah,
show,
right,
and then nothing happened.
right.
We
Then you find it all over again.
yeah, it'll be like a 2-part series.
Right.
So the problem is people like that I guarantee you, like Discovery says, let's do a show where people talk about what they've seen, and that's great. But what I have a problem is when you have cast members that every second, that's a Bigfoot.
Sure.
Some little kid thought he saw something in the woods. That's a Bigfoot.
Right.
There are people out there that are on pills that this isn't helping them.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if you wanted the show to be genuine, and the problem is when you do these shows, the network will sit there and go, no, 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 we're doing entertainment, guys.
Yeah.
We're doing entertainment. We're not doing, this
Right.
isn't National Geographic.
This is not a documentary. This is
Yeah.
entertainment.
This is
Yeah.
entertainment. So, and I wish they would just, because they put it in very, very small lettering at the end, entertainment,
Sure.
where you could barely see it. You can't see it. But they do put a disclaimer saying this is just entertainment. And you have people, it's feeding into people's psyche where instead of just saying, hey, let's look at the evidence, let's look at, let's really look at this. I mean, one of the best was where these giant trees were knocked over and he was with he's a survivalist, and these giant trees. Hey, I didn't know how these giant trees were knocked over halfway, but in my head, I'm thinking, could it have been a thunderstorm? Could it have been, were these trees weak and a storm came by and
Right.
knocked them all over? I mean, we cannot just jump to a Sasquatch or a Yeti or, this creature did this. What for me, the problem is everybody's got one of these now.
Right.
So to me, there's no excuse of I saw a Bigfoot. Well, where was your camera? Right? I mean, everybody's got
Right.
this bloody
Yeah.
thing with them
Right.
everywhere you go. So, uh,
Well, I mean that's one of the big problems with the Bigfooters. And in fact, I mentioned earlier that Bigfoot conference I was at in Idaho, and what was interesting. One of the reasons I went there, not only because I was invited and I wanted to sort of give the skeptical perspective, but I was also wanting to sort of see, well, what's the latest, guys? Right? So, what I mean, I as you know, I do a bunch of different. I do urban legends, I do chupacabras, I do ghosts, I do crop circles, I do psychic powers, I do the lots of things. So cryptozoology and lake monsters and Bigfoot, I do a lot of that, but that's only one slice. And so I can't keep up in the latest developments in every field all the time. So part of the reason I went there was to go and see what's new. And I walk in there and nothing's new. It's the same shit. They're like, oh well, look here's a reanalysis of the 1967 Patterson film. Like, okay, so it's like when you see Star Wars remastered, like, oh, this has extras. It's like you're reselling the same product 30, 50 times, right? And it's the same thing with the Patterson Gimlin film, which is the gold standard of evidence for Bigfoot. And the question is, well, hold on, this was taken during the Johnson administration.
yeah,
This is it just is astonishing to me that the Bigfooters don't seem to recognize the fact that I mean, this was taken before I was born, right? And this is still
yeah,
being held up as the gold standard, and they're still reanalyzing this. And so the question is, hold on here, right? Since that time, as you point out, everybody's got cell phones, everyone's got things like that. The cameras everywhere, high definition. I mean, the cameras that's on your cell phone that I just saw a second ago, the lens and the quality was something that Hollywood could only dream of 20 years ago. The technology, the resolution, and yet the evidence for Bigfoot and the video evidence and the photographic evidence, it's plateaued or gotten worse. And you have to ask, why is that? Why is it that we're not seeing, if these Bigfoot are out there and they're being seen, in the woods in Ontario and the Pacific Northwest and Pennsylvania, where is the high quality good video of this? We should be seeing these emerging every couple of weeks.
yeah.
Instead, they keep going back to pre 1970.
And that's what the Gimlin family. Every time that video is shown on TV, they make 10 grand.
I don't know if it's that much. They're making it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they no, they make
Patterson's dead.
Ben. They
Yeah,
make a mint off of that. If you want to show any footage off of that, it costs 10 grand.
mm-hmm.
So they that is the gold standard. That is their,
Yeah,
and to me, even when people, I mean, there was one guy that said, yes, I bought, I wore the suit, and he was the same
the Harambe
size,
thing.
and he was, they're like, well, why are you coming forward? And he's like, because I never got paid for the gig.
Yeah, there
Okay.
was in Greg Long's book, The Making of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It talks about that. Yeah,
Right. So there were several people that have come forward saying, yes, it was totally. I mean, there was one guy that wasn't in on the joke that had a gun, that if they said if that a Bigfoot, or be it a man in a costume, was to do something stupid and turn towards them, that would be a dead Bigfoot. Okay, because that man,
right.
the other guy, the rancher, would have shot it dead in a heartbeat. Okay,
Yeah,
so you're playing with, I guess he told To me, it would be him telling, I would say, Ben, wear the outfit. When you turn around and look at us, do not come forward because the guy I'm with, he'll blow your brains out.
Yeah, I mean the whole Patterson Gimlin film and all the stories behind it. It's I mean it's as you know, it's a long in depth. I mean, it could take hours to go through it. There's all sorts of questions about where the film was developed, who was in on it. Roger Patterson had actually sketched a nearly identical Bigfoot in a drawing in a book he'd previously published. So again, and to be fair, there are people who claim to have been in the costume, but almost certainly weren't. So it's not like we can say, well, that guy, admitted it was a hoax. Well, there's a couple guys that admitted it, and just because someone says it's a hoax doesn't mean it really was. Although I think it almost certainly was. One question that comes up, which you just touched on, is who is in on it, right? So it was shot by two guys, Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin. So the options are either that they were both in on it. Patterson's now dead. I think Gimlin is in his 80s, and he's still around somewhere, showing up at conferences and signing stuff. But so the question is, was it a hoax on the world by the two of them? Was it a hoax on Gimlin by Patterson? I mean, at this point, it's going to be hard to know. But one of the silliest things I keep hearing is, well, if it was a hoax, where's the costume?
Yeah.
Well, what? So why would you still have the costume? And second of all, are you telling me that the only way that you will believe it's a hoax, even just looking at it, you can tell it's probably a hoax? There's all sorts of, it's human size, the gait. I mean, there's lots of things that suggest it's a hoax. But if you're telling me that the only reason that you're hinging this can't be a hoax is because somebody didn't find a rotting, decomposing, hairy costume from the 1960s and say, well, look, it's labeled, this was used. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, that's the thing where, I mean, my first love was, I think is the Loch Ness Monster, which I always spell the wrong way, which pisses people off from Loch Ness or whatever they always. It's Loch Ness, but I'm like, I don't care. I am dyslexic. Okay, so when I write, anyways, but you'll have a guy on his deathbed admit that he did it.
You talking about the Sperling photo, the surgeon's photo?
Yeah. Where he's like, I did it because I was pissed off 60, 70 years ago. I was angry, and I would have done the same thing just to be a jerk.
to be fair, right?
I don't blame him, but even on his deathbed, he said, no, it was a submarine. It was a hoax. And then you have people still going, no. It's like me saying, Ben, I started the fire. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
And I go, Ben, here's the video of me doing it. You're like, that's not you.
No. Do you have the match? I want to see the match that you used, the exact match that you used. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah. And it's like, no matter what. And I'm like, this is the wrong way to go about it. Just go about it by, okay, this is what he says. Go by evidence. Go that, if it's a plesiosaur, okay, there's not enough food in that lake for this animal to survive. It's just not going to happen.
Well, different people have come up with different estimates. It depends on, so I've heard both sides. I've heard some people say that there's not enough food in the lake. Other people said, well, there might be, depending on how big it is. The thing is, if you look at that photograph, the famous surgeon's photograph, one thing that people don't realize is that it's really, really tightly cropped in. And so I encourage anybody who's interested in this, look for the uncropped surgeon's photo.
Yeah,
because the one that everybody talks about, like, oh, look at this thing. It's like, if you look at it in context, and it's like this tiny, like, wow, that looks a lot smaller in context.
Yeah, and the waves. The problem is the waves. They would be like you putting, if you were to put a toy in the bathtub. And you had, the problem was you had people that, I guess, scientists or whatever saying, oh, those waves are 5 feet. which screws people's minds up. And I'm
Right.
like, no, 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 just no. I mean, I love, uh, I love mystery, okay, but I do not love when people screw around with mystery, just for their narrative,
Right.
just to. I mean, I've met people that absolutely, uh, politically hate a candidate and know nothing about that candidate, but just hate them because everybody says you got to hate them,
Right.
and it becomes this. It's no good. You got to have your own mind, and if you believe it, great, but always have an open mind and always sit there and say, well, maybe is somebody out to make money, or
Right. Who's
uh,
benefiting from this?
who's benefiting, or if nobody's benefiting, then okay, let me look into it. But just do not believe everything that's thrown in front of you. I mean, you did a great story about chupacabra, where people believed that that creature has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when I messaged you, I was like, Ben, were you the one that came up with the name chupacabra? And you said, no, no, it was a DJ in Mexico,
In
um,
Puerto Rico.
in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
That to me, that creature, all that chupacabra is folklore,
Hmm.
right?
Largely, yeah.
Okay, so when you got folklore, and then you've got something like a weasel that comes in at night and eats your chickens, and you sit there and go, how did this happen? And I say to you, oh, it must have been a chupacabra.
Right.
Right, that goes from village to village, to story to story. We sit around, we joke about it, or we talk about it, and we forget that it was a weasel, and we think it's this creature that comes at night with giant teeth. And
Right.
these, I've seen earlier drawings of the chupacabra, and it looks nothing like the demonic creature that they're showing now. I
Hmm.
mean, so it just shows you the power of legend and gullibility.
Yeah, it's legend gullibility, and it's it's the some of the sensationalism we talked about before with the news media and wanting everything to be dramatic and oh my god, and there's vampires out there and this and that. And it really is fascinating when I looked at the emergence of the chupacabra legend. When again, it only began in 1995, 1996. So it's only 25 years old. I mean, everybody thinks of
Yeah,
chupacabras as being this ancient creature that was seen terrorizing South America in 1840. No, this is a he's the new kid on the block. But when you look at the way in which the original sighting by this woman, Madeline Tolentino, who I interviewed outside of the capital of San Juan, and then it sort of it took on different versions, and then people are reporting seeing things, never actually finding any bodies, of course, but they're based on what appeared in the tabloids, and then it's on TV, then it's on the X Files, and then to this day, some 2 decades later, you have these weird chupacabra versions that were in fact influenced by the movie Species and Sill in H.R. Giger.
yeah.
So it's just this fascinating sort of blend of pop culture and rumor and conspiracy theory and legend, all sort of mashed together.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad that you're fighting the good fight, because I think it's important that, again, if you're and I'm not, I love anything to do with monsters, or to me
You and me both, man.
that's the spice of life. But
Hmm.
if you're out there to sell snake oil to people, I don't like that. I think that's wrong. That's the wrong way to go, and that's just you're really hurting people that want to take it seriously and want
Hmm.
to go out there and find evidence. uh
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind, and you touched on this before, is that oftentimes the true story of these things is much more interesting, or just as interesting as the bullshit story. I mean,
mm,
if you look at the true story of the chupacabra, and I wrote about it in my book, Tracking Chupacabra, it's fascinating. It's got conspiracies. It's got people thinking the chupacabra is a evil demon sent by God to punish people. You got conspiracy theories. You've got all these different angles into it, vampire legends, all this mashed up. The true story is so much more interesting than some bullshit story you see on some blog somewhere. And that's true with a lot of these cases.
Yeah.
So, and I just find it's kind of insulting to science in a way, to have people say, oh, well, if you look at Sasquatch, you look at the Mothman, you look at Nessie and stuff, is, these things prove the world is amazing and magical. Like, no, you know what proves the world is amazing and magical? Bats. You know why? Because they hunt by sound. That's cool. That's interesting. And you know what? That's real. Look at cuttlefish. Look at chameleons. Look at
I know.
the animals that are truly, genuinely in the world around us
Yeah.
are beautiful and amazing, and they're wonderful, and they're fascinating. They're much more interesting than these bullshit stories that people come up with.
It's like, hey, I'm a vampire, and I see people like I watched a documentary on people wanting to be vampires, and it's a turn on to be a vampire, and they drink blood, and I'm like, you are the dumbest people on the planet, man. I mean, I would punch you in the head if you came up to me going, "Can I suck your blood?" I give you something else to suck first. I mean, there's no way. People, the planet is so beautiful. Like what you just said was very poetic. There's so many beautiful things out there. I mean, how many times do you remember watching Lord of the Rings and you just go, this is all CGI, right? You go, and they go, no, this was shot in New Zealand. And you go, you're like, there is a place this beautiful? Yes, there is. So there are these beautiful places out there, but yet it's kind of, it's like that beautiful girl in high school that you never knew liked you, that you never pulled a move on her, and you just thought, nah, not in my league. And you find out later on that she liked you and you just ignored her because you were an idiot, So, and that's what people are doing. They're ignoring, they're coming up with these vampires and there's werewolves and no, there's
what's especially interesting about the vampire thing, just to go on a quick tangent here, is that a lot of them are claiming to be descended from an entirely fictional vampiric tradition.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it is so heavily informed by Bram Stoker's Dracula. And of course, he based it on, Vlad Tepes and Vlad the Impaler and things like that. So he basically pulled different parts of historical things. But when and I've talked to people who claim to be vampires, and they say, well, I do these things, and they have these little rituals, and they're all goth and this and that, and whatever. I mean, if that's your gig, I mean, I'm not going to make fun of you, but don't sit there and tell me that you are part of a long lineage of vampires that was invented 100 years ago. I mean, it's sort of like saying, well, I'm part of the Hogwarts tradition.
Yeah.
Okay. I
remember my younger days, Ben, there was this, I picked up this redhead at it used to be a place here called the Right Out. And she was just, I love redheads. So we ended up going to her place, and her roommate was a guy, and I'm like, here we go. So he's just, and he tells me when she leaves the room that he's a vampire. And I go, so you're powerful? You're like a vampire? And yeah, I'm a vampire, and he's like, he's trying to be all mysterious and everything. And I go, listen, if you don't leave, like go out for a walk or something, I know it's like 3 a.m, but if you don't leave, you're going to be a dead vampire in about 5 minutes, because I'll beat the living shit out of you. Because you're ruining my enjoyment. Okay. And this scary vampire left, he left, this powerful vampire, and I had a lot of fun. So
did you tell me you're a werewolf? Because that's what you should have done.
Well,
you do have a little bit of a werewolf look going on.
He was just a whack job, Ben.
No, but you should have said, you're a vampire, huh? You know what I am?
Most Sicilians are werewolves. We are very hairy. So we've got that lineage. But just
Vito, I mean, Jesus, that's
he comes and he shows like all this weird drawings he does, and he sits on the couch with me, and I just sit there and I go, dude, dude, we got nothing in common here. Okay. I mean, and he's telling me about he's a vampire, and he drinks the blood of humans. And I go, buddy, I'm the wrong guy to talk to about this because I'll put your head through a wall.
You're barking up
Okay.
the wrong tree here, dude.
Yeah. So, people are, it's the whole thing. I get it, Ben. We all want to be special, and we all are. Okay. We all are. You have to stop thinking you're not special. That's the problem with people where they just go, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not. Hey, man, you may not be the best soccer player. You may not be the best looking guy like me. But here's the thing, you are loved and you are special. Okay. And stop thinking that you need to be something else. You're not. You're wonderful the way you are. I'm not trying to
We
be
all
this.
have our we all have our talents. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things that I do that you can't do, and vice versa. I mean,
Right. You got
there
God.
I can't do what you do.
I couldn't spell if my life depended on it, but I could go up on stage and make people laugh.
Hmm.
I could not write a novel like you if I, if I, as hard as I try. But that's your skill, Ben. Okay.
And we all have them, and it's so important to look for the strengths instead of the weaknesses, and
Right, and
that's
that's what people
unfortunately what we
do. They
always.
hitch their wagon with this. They'll follow a group and they'll just sit there and go, "Yeah, I'm this guy." I believe I'm. They reinvent themselves. I remember my sister. She started using a different name for her friends, and I go, "That's not your name." I go, "Tell your friends your new friends your name," because it's just because she didn't want to be herself. She wanted to be somebody else, and I'm like, no, you're going down the wrong path, sweetie.
Hmm.
Don't. I love you the way you are. You got a beautiful name. Don't change for anybody. So
Hmm.
real quick, I want to show everybody real quick, or before we go, this is one of Ben's books. I'm going to share. Tell me if you could see this, Ben.
All I see is that handsome face of yours. Oh, Mysterious New Mexico. I do see that.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so look at that, folks. Look at that picture. Is that terrifying or what? That's one of Ben's books. I believe you. How many books do you have, Ben?
I now have 13 books. I actually had a book just come out about a month ago titled Big If True Adventures in Oddity, which you can get at better bookstores and online ebook. But
Yeah,
this is
you
there's actually a quick fun story with this. So this image here was taken by a guy named Josh Hoffine, who's a horror photographer, and it depicts a legend called La Llorona, which is the crying woman. That's widely known. It's sort of a Hispanic Mexican legend, and it's about this woman that is crying, and she goes near lakes and rivers and ponds and bodies of water, calling for her children. So this book is actually banned in a bookstore in Santa Fe, New Mexico, because the cover actually creeped out the bookstore owner so much that she's refused to carry this book of mine. But the photographer actually, he also ended up doing the cover for my next book, which is titled Bad Clowns. It's about evil clowns, and
yes,
he had the cover for
y-
that too.
yeah. No, it's absolutely stunning, man. When that kid gets old enough, that kid's going to be terrified.
Lots of therapy bills, except here's the thing. That's actually, as I recall the story, that's actually the kid's grandmother.
Really?
Yeah, and so yeah, so Hoffine uses his own family in his photographs, so he's related to that kid. I think that's his daughter or stepdaughter.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think that's one of the most. I remember seeing this cover, going, "I got to get this book," and I've got it. So it's absolutely wonderful. People don't just look at the cover. Like, I think it's what's inside that's important, and what Ben has written is it's always uh, you're a very strong writer, Ben.
That's very kind of you. I try.
Okay, well, I know you've been running around, and I do appreciate your time. Uh, Thank you so much, Ben. Anything you want to plug real quick?
I'll just mention once again my podcast, Squaring the Strange. You can sign up; it's free. Comes out every couple of weeks. We do a wide variety of interesting topics, a lot of my investigations and things like that. And I just want to thank you, Vito, for your support and stuff over the years. You and I go back a ways, so I appreciate that, and keep trucking, man.
I appreciate it, Ben, and I love you, man. You're a great guy and a hell of a writer. This isn't a love fest. This is just I haven't seen him in so long. It's just we haven't spoken in we broke up. It's a long story, but anyways, Ben is an incredibly talented man, and he tells it the way it is, and that's what I like. I think that's important. So if you're out there and you want, if there's something you like, and look into it, and go in there, instead of going in there with eyes wide shut, go in there with your eyes wide open and really look and pick up Ben's books. They are awesome reads. Okay. If you're sitting around at home like a lot of us are, read these books. They are enjoyable. Ben, Mr. Radford, thank you so much. Be safe, be good, and keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks, Vito. You too. Take care.
Ciao.